Hey, church family. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe and healthy. And it's so good to be with you again on this Wednesday as we get together for a little midweek Bible study and devotional time. And so glad that you've joined us today to do just that. I also want to let you know that we actually are starting up on our Wednesday nights again, going to be doing our Wednesday night Bible study. And tonight is the first night that we are doing that. And I hope that you will come join us, not only tonight, but in subsequent weeks as we begin to get back into that and maybe a little bit of sense of normalcy and where we've been. It's been quite some time since we've done Wednesday nights, but we're excited to be able to get together and do that again. Tonight's going to be a little bit more informational in nature, going to kind of talk about where we want to go on our Wednesday nights and how things are going to be formatted, what our kids' classes are going to look like, and what we're going to be studying maybe. So I hope you come join us tonight and as well as subsequent weeks. That's a hard one to say. Struggling with that word. Subsequent weeks as we really, again, start to get back to normal, and hope that you will join us in the upcoming weeks for that. But also, no, we are going to continue. I am going to continue doing Wednesday night devotionals, at least for the time being. So if you can't make it on Wednesday nights, we're so glad that you can at least join us online for a little bit of Bible study and devotional time. You know, almost every parent has gone through the sweet, but also sometimes annoying stage of questions from their children. These are the days when kids seem to have an inexhaustible curiosity about life and the world and the things around us, and a corresponding inexhaustible list of questions and inquiries to go along with it. And the questions range from why the sky is blue, to why certain animals have spots and others don't, to why we have to eat our vegetables, and the list just goes on and on. And these questions really come at a flurry during that season of life, especially when they're really young, just one right after the other, until you and I as parents basically say, okay, we've dispensed enough information for the day. I don't, either I don't know the answer or I just can't take any more questions. And kids ask these questions, at least in the purest sense, because they lack information. You know, they're sponges who just want to soak up every bit of information that we as parents have to give them. And they assume that because we are their parents, we are in possession of all of this information and will freely give it to them. And certainly we try to, or at least we act like we know the answers to it, but we try to fulfill and answer all the questions that they have. Of course, parents also have questions for our children as well, albeit it's oftentimes for different reasons. You know, sometimes we ask our kids things because we want information and we genuinely want to know. But a lot of times I think we ask questions because we are seeking information or seeking relationship with them. You know, maybe we feel a little bit distant from them, or maybe we just want to grow the relationship, and we want more than anything for our children to open up and to share not only what's going on in their lives, information based, but also their feelings and what they're going through and how they're responding and how we can help, and just to develop that relationship between us as parents and our children. And oftentimes questions that we ask are not really, again, for information, that they're focused on intimacy and on that relationship. And we have such a strong desire for that intimacy that we can ask questions back to our children with the same frequency and intensity that they employed with us. The badgered, in some ways, becomes the badgerer, we as parents. And the same action, asking questions, is employed, but again, there's a different purpose behind it. Now, consider the fact that God, too, is a question asker. And we see this many times in Scripture. When Adam and Eve first sinned and consequently tried to hide from their sin, God responded with a question: where are you? Where are you? When Adam and Eve finally presented themselves, God asked them directly, what is this you have done? When God responded to Job's accusations, he used a series of questions, basically beginning with, where were you, Job, when I did this or when I did that? Where were you when I created all of these things, when I did all of these things? When Jonah was angry that God did what Jonah feared God would do, relent on his anger toward the Ninevites, this punishment that Jonah hoped he would dish out to the Ninevites, God relented on it, and God asked him twice. He said, Jonah, is it right for you to be angry? I mean, do you have any right for me to be angry or for you to be angry about me showing mercy and grace? When the people said Jesus was a prophet or maybe a reincarnation of John the Baptist, Jesus asked his disciples, well, what about you? Who do you say that I am? And the list goes on and on of questions that God asks. And because questions serve different purposes depending on the occasion, we might wonder what God's intentions are with these questions. Of course, first of all, I think we know what his intentions are not. We know that the question is not informational in nature because God already knows the answers to the questions that he asks of us. In fact, God knows the facts of every situation better than the people involved in that situation, better than you and I who are involved in those things that are going on. So why is it that God asks questions of us? Well, certainly God has more than a few reasons, I'm sure, but perhaps the greatest reason and the greatest purpose of God's questions is to force us to confront our own hearts. He questions us not because he needs to know or understand something about what's going on, but because he wants us to know and understand the truth of what's going on. Through questions, God forces us to turn our gaze upon ourselves and our hearts and our motivations. He makes us look deeply into ourselves, knowing that he already knows, so that we can then own up to that which we have either been unable or unwilling to see previously. As he did in the garden, God might ask us, where are you? Not because he doesn't know or because he wants to know our exact location, but because he wants us, or he wants to take, he himself to take the fear and the shame that keeps us in hiding and to bring it into the light. Or as he did with Jonah, God might force us to confront our own biases and our own prejudices and our own bitterness so that we might, through his compassion and grace, move past it, move forward. As Jesus did with his disciples, God might ask us again and again who he is, not because he's forgotten, like he's got amnesia, but because he wants to form in us a discipline to speak the truth of his character and who he is and his love and his grace and his mercy that has been poured out on us over our doubts again and again and again. God questions us, not because he doesn't know, but because he wants us to know. When God asks a question of us today, I wonder if we will be courageous enough to answer it. And in answering his questions, it won't mean that we're calling up some new piece of information, but it will mean that we're confronting the truth about ourselves and trusting, in this case, that the one asking the questions is truly the one who has all the answers. Hope you have a blessed day. God bless.